to Quick News, the fastest channel in the country. Today, we are celebrating the news that Milosevic was brought down by Otpor. Elene, one of our journalists, is in the scene for further details. Elene, we are bringing it to you.
It's unbelievable! Slobodan Milosevic has been brought down. All of the Serbians are currently in the streets. They're celebrating, they're parading, they're singing the songs. I don't know if I'll be able to continue with the...
Wow, everything's so crazy. There's a lot of things happening in Serbia. So for you, listener, we will transfer to an expert, Eileen, in nonviolent resistance, who can explain how the Otpor movement brought down a dictator.
Thank you for having me today in the news broadcast. Today marks a truly phenomenal day for all Serbians, and it will be celebrated for generations to come. I'm still in complete disbelief over what has just happened. But if we focus on the Otpor movement by itself, the beauty of the Otpor movement and pretty much any non-violent resistance lies in its ability to unite numerous people in civil resistance, making participation accessible to all. Unlike violence, non-violence prevents immediate suppression and disables an authoritarian's ability to deliver a proportionate response. When we think of power that Milosevic exercised, it was by no means ever monolithic. It wasn't something that was given, strong, independent, durable, and self-reinforcing force. We need to view power realistically. Rulers derive power from those over whom they rule, and we saw this phenomenon unfold today in Milosevic's downfall. For Milosevic, it was impossible to execute his rule without compliance of organizations and institutions, the so-called pillars of support. Through these pillars, the Serbian people provided their time, energy, resources, skills, and knowledge to the ruler. However, Otpor has sparked a collective shift in loyalty against Milosevic by engaging and convincing citizens to join in non-cooperation. They strategically targeted key pillars: police, military, bureaucracy, education, and media, winning hearts across society.
Vi ćete imati najveći zadatak u životu. Ako stvari stoje onako kako ja mislim da stoje, mi ćemo morati organizujemo proteste. Vi ste trenirani da to sprovedete. Vi ste pravili mrežu po fakultetima. Ovo je vaš protest. Sve što se bude dešavalo je vaše.
Thank you, Eileen, for that knowledge about non-violence. It gives us a great entry to the Otpor movement and understanding it. This gives us a very big overview, so to dig deeper, we're going to our next guest, Felicia, who will explain the roles of younger generation humor in the movement. Another key element that made the Otpor movement successful was the presence of the younger generation. Otpor movement consisted mainly of the Serbian youth, and although they were a new phenomenon, they were a creative force, a dynamic source of innovation, and they undoubtedly, throughout history, participated, contributed, and even catalyzed the important changes that were happening in Serbia. They engaged in flash mobs, pickets, protests, and other types of campaigns, very non-conventional forms that were helping bring down the authoritarian regime. In order to accomplish those goals, Otpor used humor and satire as their trademarks. It was efficient in pushing a positive message, attracting the widest possible audience, and making the opponents, those grey and square-headed bureaucrats, look stupid and ridiculous. Most importantly, it broke the fear and inspired the tired, disappointed, and apathetic Serbian society at the end of the 90s. Street theater and humorous skits mocking Milosevic performed throughout the whole country to transform the political culture and empowered widespread opposition. Humorous content to this extent enables and is indicative of independent thinking and creativity. It causes contemplation, confronts the hegemonic power of the oppressor, and challenges fear and apathy. Laughter, whether satirical, humorous, absurd, or otherwise, is a political expression and sometimes an act of dissidence. Humor cultivated and encouraged independent thinking and creativity. We inevitably retreated to the trenches of the deep privacy under authoritarianism.
Već 10 godina pokušavam da skinem ovu fleku. Verujte mi, sve sam probala. Sada se pojavila nova mašina. Ona ima odličan program koji pouzdano, sigurno i nepovratno skida ovu i slične mrlje.
Dozvolite mi...
Pa samo tu. Vidite, deluje.
Konačno. Gotov je.
Thank you, Felicia. I shall now bring it over to Elona, who will further elaborate on the techniques used by Otpor to successfully bring down Milosevic.
Thank you for having me today. Essentially, as previous speakers have mentioned, the Otpor movement was truly phenomenal in its organization, as they had a very clear plan and vision of what non-cooperation against the regime encompassed. Milosevic's excessive brutality against the non-violent tactics triggered the so-called political jiu-jitsu, where the opposition group increased their unity and support. All of the opposition in Serbia, which included 18 different parties, formed a new coalition to run against Milosevic, the so-called democratic opposition of Serbia, and it essentially served as a final blow to the regime and forced Milosevic to hold elections. However, the citizens knew that elections were going to be rigged if they did not interfere, so they decided to create parallel election monitors. Soon, it became clear that Milosevic had lost. But tensions rose as Milosevic clung to power despite clear election results. As a result, widespread general strike commenced on October 2nd. While initially slow in Belgrade, it gained tremendous support in provinces, effectively paralyzing several cities with blockades of vehicles and people, closed businesses and shut schools. Strikes and boycotts resonated across society. Workers, students, artists, business owners, everyone stood with Otpor. Alongside non-cooperation, alternative systems for education, information and communication outside the control of the regime were established to challenge the narratives of the dictator. The church too withdrew the support from the dictator, with the Serbian patriarch publicly asking Milosevic to cede the power. Alongside all of this, Otpor carefully communicated with security, military and police forces and publicly called for their non-cooperation. Defections among the members of media was also prevalent.
Nemojte gađati policiju. Policija će preći na stranu naroda. I nemojte izazivati incidente.
If I were to give you all the ultimate advice for any civil resistance success, it's important to firstly unite the opposition, second of all have a vision and plan of what will happen after the protests are over, and thirdly, never fight violently against the government. Use only non-violence. Otpor is the perfect exemplary of all the three.
Thank you, Elona, for that comprehensive overview. However, I noticed that media had a great role in the success of Otpor. Can you explain its role?
Certainly, Felicia. So state-run media is like the dictator's personal storytelling tool, and no dictator spares any means whatsoever to maintain it. In the case of the Otpor movement, the media played a pivotal role in bringing down Milosevic's regime. The Otpor movement creatively bypassed the censorship and propaganda control tools in the media by using alternative methods to disseminate uncensored information and challenge the regime's narratives. For instance, internet, fax, and email were used to organize and distribute information to volunteers. Otpor arranged protest training sessions, distributed uncensored media, built communication networks free from government control, and encouraged voter mobilization. Furthermore, state-run media outlets began openly criticizing the regime by incorporating Otpor's public statements, press releases, petitions, and speeches into their broadcasts. Moreover, as Otpor transitioned to large-scale protests, it gained the attention of international media, strengthening the movement beyond Serbian borders.
So, that's it for today. Today we saw the fall of Milosevic, the dictator, and how Otpor movement was able to bring it down. Please don't forget to tune in to our 6 p.m. broadcast. Thank you very much.